Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. I am Stella, your host, and I'm here to speak with Louise today. She is a confidence and life coach for women. Her story is incredibly inspiring, and I cannot wait for her to share her story with you. Hi, Louise. Welcome to this interview.
Hello, Stella. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you today and to share my story and just to get to chat with you as well. It's an absolute honor. I'm so grateful, honestly.
I feel the same. It's so nice to connect with you here today. Louise, I know that your journey has been filled with so many different challenges, from financial hardships to personal crisis. What inspired you initially to become a confidence and life coach for women?
So the inspiration for me came from the fact that I used to identify with someone who had no confidence. So I used to be very shy. I used to be very quiet. I was a chronic people pleaser. I always played very small. I didn't know how to set goals, and I very much ambled through my life, just believing that everything happened for a reason. But then, as we know, life just throws us curveballs for us to learn lessons from. And I wasn't learning the lessons at that point because I wasn't really aware of myself or of just how life really worked. And back in 2013, someone approached me about a network marketing opportunity. And I was excited, but also really nervous because obviously it was a business. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mum, so I'd got 3 children. I was married. But I always knew I wanted to do something and I wanted to be successful in something, but I just never knew what that something was growing up. So I'd ambled through different jobs. I'd had the kids very young. And so I was about 29 at the time, with the kids at home. And I wanted to be able to earn some money working from home. And I didn't want to compromise my time with the kids. So when this opportunity was presented to me, working with health and wellbeing products and being in sort of that coaching and mentorship environment, I thought something inside of me, and this is really important, I feel something inside of me like shifted, and I could feel something towards this opportunity, like it's a yes. It doesn't make sense. I didn't ask, can I really do this? But I felt it. I was actually really emotional when I saw the business. So I said yes to that opportunity. And I did get a lot of stick from certain people, certain family members, friends, just people just saying, these things don't work. And they had their own opinions of sort of that industry. But for the first time, I really trusted myself. I trusted my intuition, and I just threw myself into this business. And what I discovered working this business was the world of personal development really was opened up to me from becoming part of that business. And I learned a lot of skills. I learned a lot about myself. And I also started to really grow my confidence. I learned how to set goals. I started to make money in that business. I started to gain promotions. I grew a team. And within a few years of being part of that business, I had achieved more than I ever thought I'd be ever capable of. And I started to do trainings. I started to speak on stages. I was speaking at the company's head office, and I was doing all of these things. And if I rewound back to when I started, I would think, my goodness, like, how is someone like me, who once thought all of these things, that I'm not confident, how can someone like me do something like this? I don't know if I can do it. All of these doubts, be now doing this. And I thought to myself in that moment, I'd been with the company about 5 years. Like I said, I was doing really well in that business, but there was something inside of me saying, I want to bring something of my own now to fruition. And also, when I started that business, I also started a hobby, and that was pole fitness and dancing at around the same time. Now, that really scared me when I saw the lessons that were being advertised. But again, something in me was like, oh, pole fitness and pole dancing. And I was like, oh, what are people going to think? What if people find out? I don't want people getting the wrong impression of me. I'm not promiscuous and all of these things. I don't want people thinking that about me. And again, I was basing my decisions on what other people are going to think and say and judgment. But I trusted that inner guidance, and I thought, I'm going to just start going to classes and just see how they are. And I absolutely fell in love with pole dancing and pole fitness. And it became my hobby for 11 years. It still is a hobby now. That actually led to me becoming an instructor at the studio years later. And it completely changed my life. So these two things, the pole dancing and fitness and the female empowerment and body confidence that I gained from that experience. Because when I first stepped into those classes, I was very embarrassed about my body. I'd had 3 children, I'd put weight on, I've got stretch marks, things did all the things that like it's just not classed as glamorous anymore. And growing into being comfortable again with my body and actually falling back in love with my body for how it was. All of that, and then all of the personal development and law of attraction and everything that I'd learned in the business, I wanted to combine that and I wanted to bring that to other women because I thought, how has it taken me joining a network marketing business to learn all these things about life and learn all how to become the person I am now? Why has it taken me joining that business to do all this? Because I didn't learn any of this at school. And also with the pole and the pole fitness and that community that was a really lovely community, that sisterhood that I'd got at the classes that I was going to, I thought I want to bring that to women that maybe haven't been to a fitness class or haven't done pole fitness. You know, not everyone does pole dancing and fitness, but it was all the things that I'd learned. I wanted to combine that and bring that to women through my own coaching business. So that was when I decided to launch my own coaching business and help women with their confidence and also with their life as well. So yeah.
What an inspiring journey, Louise. And to have the confidence in yourself, I mean, to trust your intuition, then follow that path, and then build that confidence is absolutely magical. And I remember we had a conversation recently, and you shared with me a moment from those times when you were working in the network marketing business, when you had to speak in front of like a group of people for the first time, and how you felt then. And I know that now when I scroll through your social media, your presence is so confident and so bold and courageous. And now when I was listening to that story, I thought, wow, that's such a great transformation. What would you say changed from that moment when you were maybe afraid to speak in front of more people and step into that strength or that energy of power, to now when you have so much confidence and belief in yourself?
I would say that if I rewind right back to that time, and that was when I was in my network marketing business, we were working with health and wellbeing products, and we used to have like local team meetings, and they were just held in a village hall. And there were probably around 20 people there. They were all lovely people, we all had a similar mindset, similar goal. And I'd been asked if I would share my testimonial about a product, my favorite product that I was using, that I would recommend to people just to come and share my story. And I remember feeling terrified at the time because it's like I knew that I loved the products and I was passionate, but it was how to articulate that in front of people. I felt very scared getting up and just standing in front of a room full of people. I found it hard and awkward just to speak to people, And I remember stepping up on, not even a stage, it was the village hall, and I was shaking. I've got my product. I was sweating. I think I spoke, Stella, at about 1,000 miles an hour. I didn't breathe the whole time. It was about this product. It just came out so fast. And at the end of it, it just seemed to last an age. It was like, oh, and then sat down and everyone clapped. And I thought, I did it. Oh my gosh, I did it. And it wasn't perfect. There were so many things. Couldn't even remember what I'd said because I was that nervous. But I did it. And I think having mentors and having people there that wanted me to succeed and wanted me to do well in my business, because, through network marketing, your coach and mentor, the better you do, the more obviously they earn from the company because, you're growing as a team. And that's why I like that environment very much, because it was very much encourage the people to do well and be successful. So I had a mentor working with me saying, you're ready to do a talk. And I would go, I'm not ready to do a talk. And they were like, we think you're ready to do a talk. We would love for you to just come and do a talk on a product. And it was having that encouragement from people that wanted me to succeed and wanted me to do well and had my best intentions in their mind. Having someone to just go, right, come on, and putting me in those positions, because I would never have chosen those positions, to speak on those stages, to be stepping out of my comfort zone. I would never have asked because I didn't have the confidence to ask, and I would never have believed that I was ready. So having someone there for me, encouraging me and saying, you can do this, go for it, meant that I would step out of my comfort zone, knowing that, even though this isn't perfect, even though I'm sweating, even though like I'm rushing and it's all a bit, I did it. And once I'd done that, it was, well done, you did amazing. Right, the next thing, and which would be on a bigger platform. And then it would be, we want you to speak at company events. And there was always that encouragement. So I think when you've got someone who you're working with, especially a coach and mentor that knows your dreams, knows your goals, knows you and wants the best for you, and having that trust, it works wonders, because you will do more than you even thought you were capable of, because you will have someone in your corner saying you can do this, and having that and that accountability and that praise as well is life-changing. And for me, that's what gave me the confidence. It was other people's belief in me before I had it in myself. 100%.
And that's why we remember certain teachers from our schools as well, because there are certain people, certain teachers in our life who are always there for us and believed in us. Maybe there have been others who didn't, but that doesn't matter. And that's such an important part, the accountability, the support, the inspiration that you receive from somebody you're working with and resonate with. And I know that you are doing now this for your clients, for the people you're working with. But I know that at the very beginning of your journey, when you decided to step into the coaching business, you didn't necessarily have the possibility to invest in high-end coaching programs. So how did you navigate through that time when you knew, okay, maybe you needed some extra support, but you couldn't maybe invest a lot of money in it? How did you do it?
So in the beginning, when I started independently, so having been under the umbrella of a very large global brand that had, all the structure and infrastructure and technical support and everything in place, when you step out of that, and I know like when people go from a corporate job, let's say, into like, this is me on my own now, it was learning a whole new set of skills in terms of the technical side of running a business, and those sort of things. And I did find myself very bogged down in the beginning with all the how-tos and all the tech and the email systems and all the logistics of the business. And I found that I was really frustrated in the beginning, because I just thought, I just want to help people and I want to coach. And looking around at different coaches, what I would do is I would look at people that I wanted to work with, and I wouldn't write it off if I hadn't got the money at that time. I would think to myself, if not now, then that's going to go on my vision board. Working with that person, doing that course is going on my vision board, and I'm going to work towards working with that person. There were some times where I was able to either create, manifest, or even borrow money from people to be able to invest and make certain investments. But one thing I will say about when you do invest in yourself, and especially in the beginning, there can be a lot of noise in the online space, a lot of people shouting for your attention, a lot of people making big claims about, you can do this in 5 minutes and this is really easy. And especially in business as well, how to hit this certain milestone in the least amount of time. And I think when it comes to making investments in yourself and your business, it has to feel aligned for you. I do say to people, like, do your research and spend a little bit of time in this person's energy if you are making a substantial investment to work with them, especially in a close capacity, because I've worked with many women over the years. When it comes to them wanting to achieve what they want to achieve in their business, as well as personally, but in their business online, and they'll come to me and say, I invested in, and this isn't slating business coaches at all, because there's some phenomenal business coaches out there, but some business coaches aren't always aligned to the way that you really want to do things in your business. And I often have women working with me where they've stepped into an environment where it's been very pressured, and they've gone from sort of wanting to escape the corporate world, invested in a business coach, and they've gone right back into that corporate vibe of like a very hustle, it's full on, and it's exhausting them to the point where they're focusing on a monetary value, they're working really hard, and then they come to actually resent their business because they've stepped out of one thing and they're doing exactly the same thing here, and they feel like they're a failure because they're not achieving, and we're so like misaligned. So the best investments I've ever made have been from when I get a feeling for someone, and it's always a soul connection. There's just something in my soul that connects with that other person's soul, and the investment doesn't always make sense, but I trust this in here. And I know when I saw you speak, Stella, back in March, and we said this the other day, that there were about 10 people on a round table chat, and Stella was talking on this chat, and this was about 6 months ago now. And I was sat watching this live video, and when Stella came on, there was, my soul just went, oh, like this, as if my soul knew Stella's soul straight away. And I knew from that moment that something would unfold from then. My soul knew from that moment. I never know what that is, and we don't always know what that is, but knowing that that will unfold the way it's meant to unfold, it's trusting that intuitiveness, that feminine energy of like, I trust myself, I trust the feelings in my body, you know. And this is why I love the work that I do, because so many women can be disconnected from their body. There's a lot of shame around their body as their home. You know, they're worried about how it looks, and they want to change something about it all the time. When actually, when you really get to know and trust your body and you accept it, you love it, there's things you can change, that's fine. But when you understand it's a receiving tower and it's there to guide you and to help you make decisions, the decisions that you make from a place of trust and intuition, and those feelings in the body, when you learn that and you do that, they've been, for me, the best investments I've ever made in myself and also in my business. So I've made both. I've made not so great investments in myself and my business, and the ones where I've really gone, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to move and do it. They've been also the best ones for me as well.
This is truly the type of divine guidance that anyone would be looking for, and you've articulated that so beautifully. And here we are today. I'm super grateful we are connected and that we are recording this interview here too. And I think a very interesting part that's happening, like when you navigate through life like that, you lead yourself on your path, knowing who you are, connecting with your body, making decisions from that place, then the clients who will come into your space too will make those decisions in similar ways, and it makes everything so much more beautiful. And then when that client comes in, because then you've allowed them to spend enough time in your space, you didn't rush them, you were there for them, then it feels just really comfortable, magical, and then the growth happens on both sides. It happens for your client and it happens for you as well. And like we always grow and we learn from each other so much. And thank you for bringing that here today, Louise. I know that you mentioned when you stepped into the network marketing business, you were married with small children, but then I know that at some point you became a single mom. You had to have your part-time job while building the business and being there for your children. How did you succeed during those times? Were there any strategies that you've embraced as you were going through those times to help you?
I want to say embrace the chaos. um, because, you know, being a single parent, I became a single parent back in 2014. And if I'm honest, Stella, at the time, I found it easier being a single parent than I did being in a relationship and being a parent. But being a single parent and having to play both roles for the children most of the time is hard. And I would say that don't try and do everything yourself. I'm someone that identifies as being a strong, independent woman, and at times I would wear that like a badge of honor to my detriment. You know, I wouldn't ask for help. I'd feel like if I was asking for help, then I was somehow failing. This also included like when it came to working with coaches in my business, you know, well, I must be failing somehow if I need someone else's help. So in terms of my mindset, I had to change my mindset where I'm not failing if I'm asking for help. You know, it takes a village to raise a family, not just one of you. You know, there's only so much we can do as one human being, as a woman. And, you know, me having 3 kids as well, they were 8, 6, and 4 when I became a single parent. I was very lucky that I do have my parents that have been there for me and that have supported me. and other members of my family and friendships as well. So I have had those people to talk to and to lean on. But when it comes to obviously growing a business around family and around job, I think it's trying not to get frustrated with maybe your lack of time for certain things. It's like being somewhat realistic with the time that you can put into your business and trying to be as productive as you can be in that time. You know, I can be guilty of thinking about my business all the time if I want to, because I'm so passionate and driven about it. And then other things in my life could then cause or feel like an inconvenience, like, oh, this is an inconvenience. And oh, I just wish, and no, all of this. And that's not the right mindset. You know, for me, I had the most success in my business when I aligned my life first and then worked on my business. And I think we're often taught in sort of, especially in business coaching environments, you know, if you're serious about your business, you'll put your all into it, you know, everything else is a no and you need to go all in. And I often find that those messages come from single entrepreneurs who are young, who don't have the responsibilities that maybe an adult does, with a house, with children, with a job. You know, they might have other support that we do. So it's important not to compare to other people that aren't in a similar situation to us. You know, we can take inspiration from those people, of course, no detriment to what they're saying. But I've always found that if I connect and spend time with and also learn from people that have been in a similar situation to me, or that really understand my situation on that level, you know, they have that understanding for there's certain things that you're not going to be able to do that this person over here can, because you've got allowances with your children and with other things in your life. And of course, they also have to take priority. So for me, when I started to really focus on, you know, what does success look like to me? How do I want my life to feel? And for me, actually, me serving my family and me first, and then my business, means that I'm showing up on my business in a much more aligned way than going 100% in the business and dripping and drabbing in my house and with the kids. Because as a mum, and you'll know this, you only have to leave it a day or two and the house looks like it's been burgled. You know, it doesn't take much, and washing's piling up and the fridge is empty. So servicing that and making that as important as also the business as well really helped me in my business. And just knowing that it's not easy and some days are really, really tough. So
Yeah, and then it's like when you're happy and you invest into your own happiness in all of these different areas of your life, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and then being there for your family, then your clients will feel happy too. Because if you give them 100 calls when you don't have capacity for 100 calls, but rather 10, but very focused ones, they will benefit so much more from those 10 instead of 100 when you're just so tired all the time. And this is such a great point, because yes, you see so much hype out there on social media of like, oh, why didn't you achieve this in 3 months or in 6 months? But every situation is different. And then you can have unexpected illnesses and unexpected things. And you may have like a month where you don't feel like creating. And so it is so important to bring this into the awareness, especially for those who are at the beginning of their journeys, or they face a time of their life and business when, you know, things are not as like high intensity vibe. And it's important to give ourselves that grace as well. And I know, Louise, that in your content and in your presence, you talk about the importance of self-leadership. Um, how do you feel this can help somebody when they understand more about what self-leadership is, and how that can help them on their journey?
So self-leadership has been probably the journey of my life, because, you know, growing up, like I said, I didn't know how to set goals. I didn't know how to lead myself. I found myself people pleasing and doing everything that everyone else wanted to do. And I had a lot of limiting beliefs growing up. And also when I started my businesses, you know, about how I was irresponsible, I was lazy, um, about how I just, my organizational skills, you know, I was disorganized. And I've had to really learn about how I best work, you know, like around my personality type and about like who I am as a person. I think the more work that I've done on me and really understanding me and what makes me feel good when it comes to success. You know, my version of success is completely different to someone else's version of success. But what I used to do back in the early days was I would look at successful people, and I say that in quotations because there's sort of an image portrayed of what a successful person's life would look like. And I would read the books, and it would be the guy, CEO, who gets up at this time and does all the things in this order, and everything's calm and clear. And I would get up, and it'd be chaos, there'd be kids, and it'd be noisy, and it wouldn't matter what time I got up. It just, and I used to think that I was constantly failing because my life didn't look like what a successful person's life looks like. And it was when really I started to think, is that actually what I want? Because even when I was doing all of those things, I wasn't happy. I was making myself miserable to try and look and be successful to other people. And it was actually, what is it that I really want? And this is something I do with my clients. It's like, what does success feel like to you? Like, how does that look? How does that feel? Let's paint that picture. You know, the reason you started your business is because you wanted, I imagine, freedom, time freedom, some financial freedom. You know, let's start and look at what actually you want and how that looks to you. And then let's take the actions that align with what it is that you want. So when I started to do that for myself, and I started to really take the action and learn more about like real self-love, which for me was when it came to understanding my procrastinating habits, my self-sabotage, because procrastination queen used to be my nickname, right? I would own that title t-shirt. And it was because I'd gone through so much stress in my life. You know, single parent, you know, going through separation, having all the financial pressure on my shoulders, so much stress that I am able to deal with a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. But then it can come to the point where subconsciously I would procrastinate and I would self sabotage because it was a way of checking out from all the stress. It wasn't because I was lazy. It wasn't because I was disorganized. And it wasn't because I was irresponsible. It was because I'd got so much stress in my life. And it was actually a coping mechanism rather than an identity of who I was. So when I started to unpick that and think, this isn't who I believe I am, you know, when people say, no, you need to do this. And it wasn't at all. It was, what do I actually believe about me? And it was unearthing these, you know, am I really lazy? No. Understanding that stress that I've been under, of course, there's a reason for this behavior. And me learning that having real compassion for myself in those moments of failing, in those moments of procrastinating, in those moments of catching myself scrolling, like, what am I doing? And getting fascinated with my own behavior. Really, then I was able to sort of learn how to lead myself through that behavior rather than really fighting it, pushing against myself, being hard on myself, you know, like being really sergeant major with myself, because that didn't work for me. You know, my love language is, you know, words of affirmation. So for me to be really hard on myself is not loving me at all. You know, giving myself words of compassion and affirmation and love and leading through that, that is what for me gave me so much more confidence in myself, because I'm like, I understand why I'm doing this now. And I'm now going to take the action that aligns with how I want to feel. And so learning that process, and this is something I help my clients with as well, is learning how to go through that process and learning about, you know, being more disciplined with myself in a loving way and leading myself to take the action that aligns with what I really want and holding space for that. That really changed the game for me. It really did.
And I can feel that from
Yeah.
your message, from your energy, even as you're talking about these things, leading yourself through those those times of like, okay, I understand this is my behavior, this is how I like things to be, this is how I prefer things to be, and also learning to check in with yourself and then lead yourself through that too. And you've just explained it in such an incredible way. Thank you so much for that, Louise. To
I
everyone who's
just
yeah.
want to add one thing, Stella, to that is because, and I apologise for interrupting.
No.
It came through, and I'm like, and I think the reason for the reason I used to be so hard on myself is because I was in a relationship for a long time where the words that were spoken to me on repeat were one of, you know, limiting beliefs were spurted at me. A lot of negative energy was poured onto me. And so if it wasn't me saying those things to me, it was coming from other sources, even though I'd moved myself away from certain people and certain relationships that weren't aligned when I'd got the courage to do that. those voices and those feelings I'd still got those energetic ties to those, because it wasn't just me who thought it, it was other people. But those people weren't meant for my life. So once you've created that distance and you're working on that, knowing that those feelings and that energy is going to come up, and when it does, it doesn't mean anything about who we are. It's an opportunity to change it. And it was that was key for me as well. So I just wanted to add that in, because it doesn't always come from us. It comes from other people, environment. It could be teachers, relationships, and being able to understand that and unpick that as well is really important. So I just wanted to add that in, because it's not just us all the time.
And sometimes what those people are doing actually is projecting their own frustrations, their own fears, insecurities, and so much more. So it is so, so crucial to be aware of that and really say, okay, that's mine, that's not mine, that's just coming from somewhere else, and just work through that. To everyone who's watching us, please check out the description of this video to know how you can connect with Louise. Depending on when you're watching this video, she may have something really exciting at that point. But for now, Louise, can you share with us what is it that you're working on now? Something exciting that you're sharing with your audience at the moment, and invite everyone who's watching us to join you there.
So, currently, what's happening in my world? So, if you go to any of my social media platforms, you're welcome to follow me on there. So, I'm on Instagram at the moment, Facebook, and also YouTube. So, you're able to connect and follow me on there. And I love to just create content every single day. Inspirational content. You can get to know me on there. I will go live. There are videos. And then I also do have a free Facebook community group for women, especially. That is where I have more deeper conversations. I share stories in there. Women are able to interact in there, celebrate themselves in there. That's just a really safe space for people to come in and just spend just some time, especially if you're feeling a little bit out of sorts or you want some help and guidance. My free Facebook group for me is the place to be. And then offer-wise, in terms of how people can work with me, currently I have my monthly coaching membership, and that platform houses all of my programs. So over the many years that I've been coaching, I've created lots of different programs, like with the leadership program called Goddess Goals, because I love to bring vibes to the program name. So one is all about confidence. I have one about law of attraction, manifestation, because again, that's changed my life. About leadership, how to overcome that self-sabotage. That is in there. I've got all my business programs in there as well. So all my programs and coaching, excuse me, is in that monthly coaching group. And then I also offer one-to-one as well. So details of that are on a pinned post on my Facebook group. And then I'm also working on getting a new website together. So when that's ready, then they will be on there as well. But all links are on my social media. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And as we're wrapping up this episode, if you were to share a message with everyone who's watching us, a message that comes from your heart, anything that comes through, what would that message be?
Work on your beliefs. I think the biggest game changer for me has been really looking at and spending the time looking at my beliefs, challenging the ones that aren't aligned, those limiting beliefs that come up. Just look at that and get fascinated with, where have they come from? Why do I think that? When does that come up? And it's usually in the times when, when no one's watching, when you're on your own, when you sat thinking, or you've made a mistake, or things aren't working out, and all of this comes up to the surface. It's like, who was I kidding? What was I thinking? Someone like me can't. Get fascinated in those moments rather than frustrated with yourself, and know that if you're willing to do the work, then that is the game-changing work, is when you're willing to show up in those moments as well. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for recording this interview with me, for sharing your beautiful energy with us and all the wisdom that came through in your stories and messages too. And thank you to everyone who's watching us. Again, check out the description of this video to know how you can connect with Louise and myself. If you are new to this channel, subscribe to the channel and like the video. See you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.